JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a manga that has been continually published since the 1980s by legendary artist and writer Hirohiko Araki. And it has animes, and it has posing, and it's extremely legendarily influential.
Joy and refinement. Made in heaven.
People who like JoJo end up making their own media, and then they reference JoJo because it's been around for ages, and there's really nothing else like it. I mean, maybe there is, and I don't know about it. I don't know about all of the things, but have I brought you here to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and ADHD? Well, I mean, I didn't bring you here. You brought yourself. So, that's a decision you have to account for. Let's just be honest. But, yes. I mean, the answer is yes. Sort of. I've brought you here to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the manga and the anime, and ADHD, but specifically my ADHD. I have ADHD. Hi. I have ADHD. I've had it my whole life, because that's how that works. But I didn't know that I had it until I was 40. So, when I watch or read JoJo's, I see a work that is interested not just in time. We've had time travel. People are interested in time. Obviously, time's a big deal. It impacts us all. You know, there's a lot of works of different kinds of media that interact with time. Time travel, for one. I've been obsessed with time travel since I was a tiny baby child. But this is a little different because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is kind of obsessed with time in a way that feels different to me than a lot of other works. There's a focus in JoJo's on not just time shenanigans like you would get in a time travel piece of media, but there's a focus on not just the mechanics of time shenanigans, but what does it feel like? What does time feel like to people? And what happens when how you feel time is weird or wrong or different? Or what if someone with magic powers could mess up how you experience time? As someone with ADHD, I find that incredibly chewy and interesting because the way that I interact with time, the way that I experience time is extremely messed up, and it's not the way that other people are experiencing it, clearly. And, yeah, so ADHD, King Crimson is time blindness, okay? I'm gonna show what I mean by that. Maybe I could prove it. I think. Let's see if I did. Open the game! So, ADHD comes in a lot of flavors. And what works for one person may not work for another. I'm a long video person. I like a long YouTube video. Ooh, show me a 6-hour Tim Rogers video? Yes, I'm in heaven. But I also have a lot of friends who have ADHD who can't watch long videos. And I would like for my friends to be able to watch this. This whole video is about ADHD. It would be a sadness if people with ADHD couldn't watch it because it's long. I had a lot to say and I like to talk. That's why I'm on Twitch. So I thought about the problem for a while, and here's what I've decided to do. For my ADHD friends and anyone else who would find this helpful, not only does this video have chapters, but it is also broken up into individual videos. There will be a link to an unlisted playlist, a choose your own adventure playlist, where you can watch each of these segments as a separate video. You can even move them around if you want to. I mean, it won't stay, but like if you want to remix the video, put it in a different order, like have a party. Just know that there's a link in the description and you can go view the video that way if you would like. Thank you very much. I probably shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to. I'm gonna spoil JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, a lot of it. Probably most of it. I'm up to date. I've read the first couple of chapters of JoJo Lands. I'm very up to date. Oh man, JoJo rules. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna spoil JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you want to have an unspoiled time with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I want you to have that. So you should go just watch all of it if you want. This video will still be here when you get done, but I'm gonna mention stuff that happens probably into JoJolian, because I'm kind of all over the place with this, but like, spoilers, there's gonna be spoilers. So don't get mad if you get spoiled, because I told you I was gonna do it.
Joseph enters every room just tits first. It's amazing.
The next thing on my to-do list is, it says, briefly explain the Joestar Lineage and get people up to speed on where we're at in the Golden Wind part, the 5th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And briefly is in all caps and it's underlined, so I'm gonna do my best. If you are a JoJo super fan, love ya. I'm definitely gonna leave a lot of stuff out here. I know it. If you think I've left out anything important, you can tell me. That's fine. I love to talk about JoJo's. Maybe I'll have like fun comments for once. Who's to say? So let's begin at the beginning. In the beginning, we have Jonathan Joestar. He is the first Joestar that we get a story about. He is the goodest boy. Jonathan is the goodest boy. The nicest, bestest, most honorable, best boy. He's very good. He is also incredibly beefy. We're dealing with mega beef here, okay? Like, just beef men filled with beef. Nothing but beef. It's gonna be a while before we get off the beef. Araki's art style changes over time, which is really fun to watch. But like in the first parts, we are doing Fist of the North Star, inspired by 80s action stars, Schwarzenegger, etc. Mega beef. So we have Jonathan, the goodest boy, and we have Dio Brando, who is a major part-spanning antagonist for most of the first parts of JoJo's. Dio he's the bad seed. He's just evil. He's just an evil person. The Joestars, we're in England, the Joestars are rich. Dio is not. Dio gets adopted into the Joestar family for reasons, and immediately tries to kill Jonathan's father. Immediately. I mean, it takes him a while. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. No, you can't explain it. You don't have time. Jonathan fights Dio. Dio becomes a vampire. Jonathan learns magic, solar-powered karate wizard moves for breathing from a man named Baron Zeppeli. An important thing to keep in mind with JoJo's is a lot of the characters and stand names are named after bands.
My name is Robert E.O. Speedwagon. I came here to make a request of you. That's the name of the founder of the Speedwagon Foundation. Now, what Josh wants to know is, does REO Speedwagon canonically exist in the JoJo universe? And if it does, was it named after Robert E.O. Speedwagon, according to JoJo lore?
Araki likes to name his characters and their stands. We're not to stands yet. We don't get to stands till part 3, but he names their characters and their wizard ghosts after bands and songs. Dio is named after Ronnie James Dio. Jonathan is not, but Baron Zeppeli is named after Led Zeppelin. Oh god, this is too many details already. So they do stuff. Jonathan gets to the final battle with Dio, who is a vampire. Jonathan's using Hamon, which is his solar-powered wizard karate. Jonathan defeats Dio, and then Dio, he has laser eyes. That's not important. I just feel like in my heart that you should know that Dio has laser eyes that he uses once. It's called Space Ripper Stingy Eyes, and I think that's great. Yes! I love it with all of my heart. Dio has been decapitated. That's great. Now we don't have to worry about Dio anymore. Jonathan gets on a boat to go to America with his new wife, and we do still have to worry about Dio because his head is also on the boat. They have a battle. Dio steals Jonathan's body and puts his head on Jonathan's body, and then the boat explodes. and Jonathan dies, which I was not expecting. Part 2, that's young Joseph. That's the Pillarmen. We're not going to worry about that. That doesn't pertain to this. Part 3, Dio is back. He did not die in the boat explosion. He actually hid in a secret compartment in a coffin. Do not worry about it. Joseph is... Shit! I'm already fucking it up. Joseph is Jonathan's grandson. So now Joseph is older. He goes to Japan, where his grandson, Jotaro Kujo. I feel like part 2 has one of the greatest openings they've ever done. It's so wonderful. And that's saying a lot, because JoJo openings are really good in the anime. Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. It's a road trip. So they road trip to Jotaro and Jonathan and some other people. They have to save Jotaro's mother for reasons. Dio is in Egypt. They have to go to Egypt, and then they have to fight Dio. This is the part where stands are introduced. God, now I have to explain stands. You know what? I'll do that later. Let's come back to stands. So, in the timeline, we've got Jonathan, Joseph, Jotaro. Jotaro goes to Egypt and defeats Dio. It is very epic. Dio, at this point, he has this... No, fuck, I have to explain the stands. I thought up a joke for this, and now I think it's, like, kind of dork, but I'm like, maybe I should do it anyway. That was my joke. I hope it was good. Like all this faffing around to not have to explain stands. But I have to explain stands. This doesn't work if I don't explain the stands. Okay, so the first 2 parts of JoJo's, they use the solar-powered wizard karate. And then in part 3, Hamon, go away. We're not using you anymore. Now we're using stands. So the power system changes from Hamon to stands. Stands are the manifestation of the user's fighting spirit and or their soul. And they all have, like, powers. Like, what kind of powers? Well, Avdol is a character in part 3. He has a stand called Magician's Red. Magician's Red is fire. Kakyoin, he has a stand Hierophant Green. Hierophant Green, it's rocks. And then Jotaro has the best stand, Star Platinum. Star Platinum. I love Star Platinum. Every time someone asks me, and it comes up more than you would think, like what stand I would want to have, or if I like have thought about what kind of stand I would like, I'm just like, I just want Star Platinum. I just want Star Platinum. I just love him. Star Platinum he's very fast and he does punching real good. Sometimes they get extra abilities as they go on, as Araki's like thinking of things. The stands are originally based on the major arcana of the tarot, and then Araki runs out of tarot, and then he does Egyptian gods, and then he just does, after he gets done with the Egyptian gods, it's just whatever. Like, whatever he can think of, that could be a stand. Anything can be a stand. And, like, anyone can have a stand, and sometimes things have stands. Like, in Jojoli, a tree has a stand, a dog can have a stand, an orangutan has a stand, a sword is a stand, but also is the user. So, like, a stand can be anything. Once you get kind of far enough into JoJo's, basically a stand is like being a wizard. You have a stand, that means that you're a wizard in a really specific way. So, like, maybe you can steal people's souls if they lose a gambling debt to you and put them inside a doll. That's extremely specific. Why am I blanking on stands? I know all the stands. Just, like, it's hard to explain them the further along you get. The reason why I had to explain stands is because Dio, at the end of Stardust Crusaders Part 3, his stand is revealed to be the world. And what the world can do is time stop.
And then he goes, Zawardo! And then he, like, literally moves Polnareff down the stairs, puts him down, runs back up top, restarts time, and then Polnareff's down the stairs again, and he tries to come up some more, and then Dio's like, Zawardo! And then he goes, and he moves Polnareff down the stairs, back up the stairs, Zawardo! And then Polnareff's like, Dio is strange now! I don't know what to do!
It turns out that Dio and Jotaro have kind of like twinsies stands. Jotaro is basically like, anything you can do, Star Platinum can do better, because Star Platinum fucking rules.
Star Crusher, the world! かったるいことは嫌いなたちなんだ。このままぶち壊させてもらうぜ。
he's just learns on the job how to do his own time stop and is able to defeat Dio. So we're seeing time is becoming an issue. Like, time is a big concern in JoJo's. Now my brain is buffering. Season 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, I think is my favorite season, but we're not going to talk about that right now because we need to get to Season 5, Golden Wind. So the JoJo, every season has a JoJo. So Jonathan Joestar, he's the JoJo. Joseph Joestar, he's the JoJo. In Golden Wind, Giorno Giovanna is the JoJo. Giorno is the son of Dio and Jonathan, because Dio's got Jonathan's body. He's both of their sons and some chick. So Giorno is the JoJo of that season, and the big bad major antagonist bad guy of Golden Wind is Diavolo, and his stand is King Crimson. So Giorno kind of combines some attributes of Dio and Jonathan, and he's also fighting a time stop. Okay, let me stop. I'm not going to say that King Crimson is a time stop, because he's not a time stop. He's a time deletion. But I need to do another part where I just explain King Crimson. But that should give you just enough background to kind of get you into where we are at Golden Wind, Season 5.
Oh, we didn't get to do the part where Jotaro convinces the doctors to put Dio's blood that he stole from Joseph back into Joseph, who looks like a withered up peach.
I normally do a lot of work in my audio to edit it to be not only hopefully pleasing to listen to, but also to take out some of the ADHD-ness of it all, the tangents and the misspeaking and saying things and then rephrasing them, and it's not that I'm not gonna do that. I am gonna do that, but I'm gonna do less of it than I normally do for these. I want this video to not only talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I love, and ADHD, which I have, but also I want it to help people understand what it feels like to have ADHD, or at least what it feels like to me. I really can only talk about what ADHD feels like to me because I only know what things feel like to me. So I'm talking about my ADHD and my experiences. I wanted to work on something artistic. I needed to make something artistic. And I wanted to talk about this thing that I see in JoJo's and how deeply affecting it was, and like how touching and beautiful it was to me to see something of myself, to have an ability to relate to a piece of media that I already loved on this like deeper level for me. One of the things that I decided to do was like, this is a personal essay. It's personally about me. I thought something that would help expedite the process, because I've done a lot of videos that are really research heavy, and I extremely respect that. I may well do it again, but I'm so tired, y'all, and I've really been through it, and I just wanted to make something that felt artistic and true. I didn't want to look anything up. I just wanted to read JoJo mangas and talk about myself. This one's about me, ADHD and me. I've not gone to medical school. I can't diagnose your ADHD, but considering how most doctors treat it, to be honest, they probably can't either. Asterisk rage, life experience rage, close parentheses. Okay. I'm certainly not the first person with ADHD to note and notice that the medical world has not done us a real kindness in really any way. And they're not very good at diagnosing us. A lot of doctors will tell you that, like, adults can't have ADHD, or, like, what happened to me today, I had a doctor who was like, yeah, I know you're out of asthma medicine and you need an EpiPen for your super deadly allergies, but like, I really just need you to stop taking your psych meds that you've been taking successfully for years in order for me to feel comfortable giving you medicine for asthma. So, not their biggest fan, me. But at any rate, I'm not one of them. I can't tell you if you have ADHD. I don't know you. I don't know who's listening to this or watching it. I don't know. Do you have ADHD? I don't know. If you relate really hard to this, there's checklists you can look at online and take to a doctor and see if they'll listen to you. I don't know. There's reasons not to get a formal diagnosis because the medical field for people with ADHD and autism is incredibly hostile. So not everybody has a diagnosis. I just feel like, honestly, if conceptualizing yourself in a way helps you, who am I to tell you to stop? Like, if it's your mental health, I mean, I'm not inside your head, I don't know you. If you find it helpful, great. Should you watch JoJo's? I mean, once again, I don't know you. I don't know what you like. I think if you go and check out Super Eye Patch Wolf's videos that are called Why You Should Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, then that will probably give you a good idea of the vibe. That's why I started watching it. Super Eye Patch Wolf is also why I started playing the Yakuza games, so I owe him a big thank you. If you see yourself in this, that's really cool. And if this is not your experience, that's okay. I mean, you and I are not the same person, so I kind of figured that it's not going to line up one-to-one with anybody but me. If I'm not talking about you, then I'm not talking about you. And if you're not me, then I'm not talking about you. If you relate to it, that's a vibe, man. That's chill. If you don't, okay. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh yeah, I'm not going to clean this up as much as I normally do. Let's all have an ADHD experience together. You know? I gotta know what things are like in the neurotypical world all the time because it's everywhere. Why don't you come with me and see if I can show you maybe a little bit what it's like, at least for me, to have ADHD. Or, I don't know, maybe I won't be successful in that. But at any rate, I'm gonna edit this so that it is pleasing to me and that it serves the larger artistic purpose. Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So also, if you don't know, and you're a little confused, if you are not familiar with the lingo, let me tell you. Neurotypical means someone who has the typical neurotype. I mean, now I've defined it in a circle, but basically it's neurotypical encompasses the expected way pattern of thinking of what people expect other people to be thinking and how they expect other people to think and respond to things. Neurodivergent is different than that. There's a lot of ways that fall under neurodivergence. ADHD is one of them. The reason why we say neurotypical is because when you say, but I'm normal, that is rude. So you don't have to be rude. Let's be base level courteous to each other and not say that some people are normal and that I'm abnormal. You could do that if you want, but it is rude and I will judge you. This guy's getting in his car. What you doing in your car? What you doing in your car? Are you going to leave or just get something out? Looks like he just got something out. Okay, cool. Shit. I should not have sang a song. I should have known that was going to mess me up. So, what is ADHD? It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, which is a terrible name for this monster problem. But let's talk about the diagnostic criteria. I'm not going to read all of these because this is boring. But let's just hit some highlights. Fails to give close attention to details, has trouble holding attention on tasks, does not seem to listen when spoken to directly, does not follow through on instructions, doesn't finish work, reluctance to do tasks that require mental effort over a long period of time. I mean, why would you ask anyone to do that? It's so rude. Easily distracted and forgetful. That's your inattentive part, the hyperactivity and impulsivity part, is fidgeting, tapping, squirming, leaving your seat when you're not supposed to, feeling restless, unable to be quiet during leisure activities, talks excessively, blurts out an answer before a question has been completed, interrupts or intrudes on others. So that's cool. Here's what we're missing, and I'm not the first person to note this in any way. These are all descriptions of what it looks like to other people. It's descriptions a lot of times of why people are mad at people with ADHD. It is not in any way encompassing of what it feels like to have ADHD.
It's a little late for tears, isn't it, Barbara?
What does it feel like? That's not even in there. It's not even considered. So what does it feel like to have ADHD? I mean, a lot of ways. That's a hard question to answer in some ways because, like, what does it feel like to not have ADHD? I don't know, because I've never not had ADHD. So could you answer the question, what does it feel like to not have ADHD? And don't say it feels normal, because this feels normal to me. I mean, when it's not in full-blown demonic phase. We'll get back to that. Maybe. Who's to say? I would suggest that what is a better explanation of what ADHD is like is it is a problem not only of focus, but that is a problem. But it is, for me, it seems like it is a memory problem. It is a problem having to do with being able to sense time, like not at all being able to do that in any way. This is the part where I should come back later and put in that time when I asked people on Twitter what it felt like to feel time. And I should just put a bunch of their screenshots up here. A number of people were like, something nudges me when it's time to do the thing, or I think I should do something in 20 minutes, and then something in my head says to me, it's been about that time, and then I just know, and it's like knowing when you're thirsty. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you're making a lot of assumptions that I would, like, know when I'm thirsty, because that's not great at that. Fair enough. Let's just presume, you know. But, like, are you a wizard? I mean, how are you doing that?
Your magic sword will save the day.
Because for me, time is either like right now or it doesn't exist. And sometimes right now is happening too slow. It's either too slow or it's too fast. It's never at a speed that feels nice. I'm constantly being jarred out of whatever I am thinking about or doing or trying to remember to do, and we will come back to that, by like these, you know, the constant need for like reminders, alarms. My husband's to come to me and be like, it's time for lunch, just to be like, time is passing, and this constant like jarring shock of it, just a 1,000 tiny slaps in the face all day long. Because if I don't set the alarms, something bad is gonna happen. Because bad things happen. But I'm just left to my own devices. Because I have no devices. I don't know how much time has passed, ever. I don't ever know. I can't estimate. I have no idea. I don't know. It would be like if someone played a recording for me that was in a language I don't understand and then asked me what it meant. I don't know. Sometimes I can get a sense for it based on external, like, cueing. Like, is it dark? You know? But that's really general. And what you don't want to happen is for it to have been that you need to do something important, and then it's dark outside and it's not supposed to be because you missed the thing, And it was important. Just the constant, like, gnawing terror that I'm gonna miss something that's really important and maybe not fixable. Most of it's fixable given enough time, but it's very expensive to fix these kinds of things in, like, time and actual money, and in, like, shame. It's like shame expensive. It's very expensive in shame. So time is just always a problem. On top of that, there is the consistent and constant memory problems. My ADHD right now is very bad. I do take medication and it helps, but it doesn't help the fact that as soon as I stop looking at something, it's completely gone out of my head. Immediately. It's just gone. And once something has fallen out of my head, I can't get it back. Probably. Maybe I can. If the thing that reminded me of the thing rotates back into my line of sight, I may well have the same thought again, but I may not. So everything is this constant struggle to get it written down or stashed somewhere or send an email to yourself or something in the 3 to 5 seconds, maybe 10, that I have before it's just gone. And my brain is back to thinking about whatever it wants to think about, or just blanking out completely. Because that's another fun thing that can happen with time, is that it's just like you look up and 4 hours have passed. And I think a lot of times people have this stereotype about people with ADHD that I'm just like, and now I'm gonna think about time travel, brr, instead of like doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, if I could decide to do that, then I wouldn't have ADHD. If I was just bored and decided to think about time travel, which I have done. I mean, who hasn't? If I was doing that, would be within my control, and this is not within my control. That's why it's a disorder. You see? For me, having ADHD is not only like time is completely out of control and happening like a tornado that I'm forced to sit in the middle of all the time, but also, in addition, I cannot remember to do things that are literally embarrassing. I have a list every day that I check off. And the things on that list are, you know, stuff like check and see if you have any meetings. That's great. That seems pretty chill and neurotypical. But also, like, brush your teeth. Put face lotion onto your face. Put that stuff on your cuticles, because if you don't, they're going to split. You know you hate that. And you're going to freak out because I also can't block anything out. So if I have a split cuticle, that's all I can deal with. That's all I can manage. And so, like, I definitely don't want that to happen. So I gotta do that. Just regular things that other people just do automatically, and I just never, ever it's never automatic. I have to remember and think of it. And if I don't remember and think of it, I'm not gonna do it. That's a little embarrassing, but it's true. Sometimes I think of ADHD like it's like I'm sitting inside of a tornado and someone is constantly throwing handfuls of rocks at me. And the rocks are thoughts. Some of them are important, like brush your teeth, pay the bills, talk to people so they don't forget that you're their friend and that you like them, brush the cat. She's got long hair, y'all. She needs a lot of brushing, okay? She's a very sweet, pretty lady, but she's got too much fur, and she can't manage it, alright? Her name is Foxy, and she's a very pretty lady, but this is a lot of fur. Are the vegetables going bad? Did you send the bank paperwork in? That's another handful of rocks. This is another handful of rocks. And then, you know, ooh, what about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? That's another handful of rocks. What about the Yakuza games? That's another handful of rocks. Bah, handful of rocks. Dio could have just sat there and just inherited all that money. Bah, that's another handful of rocks. And I gotta, like, somehow scoop out individual pebbles that are being flung at maximum force at my face. My, like, metaphor face. This is getting out of control, but I'm gonna keep going with it. No one can stop me. Somehow I gotta, like, yank out of all of that important things, like the bills, like the appointments, the paperwork. You just have to do certain things. And when you're an adult and people just expect you to do them, and they're just like 7 handfuls of tiny, tiny pebbles that just keep falling out of my hands. And every time I think I've scooped them all up, I haven't. So, like, what is ADHD like? It's like being confused all the time. It's like I don't know that someone's trying to talk to me until they're halfway through what they wanted to say. And then I have to figure out, is it too embarrassing to ask them to start over? Should I pretend like I understand what's going on? Because I don't understand what's going on. Like, I don't understand what's going on, like, a sickening amount of the time. And, like, I hide it because you have to. People get very angry. Like, you never listen. DSM criteria, you never listen. I mean, I'm trying to listen, but I didn't realize you were talking to me. And you're already mad. It doesn't feel good.
Jotaro's hat hair situation. His hat is his hair, which is his hat, and it's his hair, and it's a hat.
What is time blindness? What does it mean? It's hard to explain, so I thought I would get some help. I also need to mention that not everyone with ADHD has time blindness, and it's not part of the diagnostic criteria, but the diagnostic criteria are not that great, so let's be honest. The collection of symptoms that are ADHD may include things for some people that they don't include for others. I have incredibly severe time blindness, so let's talk about what it is. I'm going to include some clips from Dr. Russell Barkley, who is a clinical psychologist and an ADHD expert, and I'm also going to read from this article. Here's the article. Dang. Oh man, where'd it go? This is an article from the Very Well Mind website. It is called Time Blindness in ADHD, and it is by Rachel Green, and there will be a link in the description. Time blindness is the inability to sense the passing of time, and it can make nearly every aspect of a person's life more difficult.
Because if we had to summarize in a single sentence, what is the purpose of the frontal lobe to humans? It is to organize your behavior across time in anticipation of what is coming at you, the future. So ADHD creates a blindness to time, or technically, to be more accurate, a nearsightedness to the future.
It is more like a sensory issue and not an intentional disregard for time. Ooh, I thought this was really interesting. The most widely accepted framework for time perception among researchers is the Scalar Expectancy Theory, SET. I'm going to say SET. SET describes time perception as a kind of internal clock where time is measured out in pulse rate. For most people, it's possible to estimate with reasonable accuracy when 1 minute has passed because their brain knows roughly how many times their heart beats in a minute. As that number of beats nears, they'll intuitively start to feel like the minute is almost up. The brain combines pulse information with other sensory inputs like brightness levels and temperature changes in the environment to build an overall picture of where a person is in time and how fast they're moving through it. Time blindness happens when that process is messed up, leading to severe problems that often get mislabeled as poor intentional time management.
And one of the most devastating deficits in adult life that ADHD produces is a disruption in the fabric of time. Now, this ability to organize across time comes with the capacity to build pyramids of behavior, from little behaviors to the bigger behaviors above them to the bigger goals above them. All human behavior can be organized into a hierarchy. It's the frontal lobe that allows you to organize all of those toward the single overarching purpose, and that's what ADHD destroys.
These problems include underestimating or overestimating how much time has passed, how long a task will take, or how much time is left before an anticipated event, chronically missing deadlines or arriving late, even for things you're excited about, difficulty making a realistic schedule or sticking to a schedule, constantly losing track of time or losing time, and feeling like time is slipping away. You can also have subtler problems like slow response or reaction times, like putting your hand up to catch a ball too late, or difficulty regulating the speed of movement, like trying to make yourself walk slower, difficulty estimating how long ago an event happened, such as answering simple questions like when did you eat lunch or when did you go on vacation. It feels like being suspended in an eternal present, the eternal now. There is either now or there is not now. Anything that is not now doesn't exist.
Now, I want you to understand something. Your brain can be split into two pieces. The back part is where you acquire knowledge. The front part is where you use it. The back part is knowledge. The front part is performance. ADHD, like a meat cleaver, just split your brain in half. So it doesn't matter what you know. You won't use it.
Time blindness and ADHD may in part be related to the fact that people with ADHD do better with hot cognition, parentheses, emotionally charged tasks. Hot cognition, coming in hot. Hot cognition, hot brain, brain very hot. One study that compared time perception on neutral and emotionally charged tasks found that people with ADHD consistently performed poorer on neutral time perception tasks than the control group, as was expected. On emotionally charged tasks, however, participants with ADHD outperformed the control group. Time blindness in ADHD is also linked to dopamine deficiencies. So it seems to be a combination of the brain failing to unconsciously or passively interpret sensory inputs like pulse rate, light levels, and temperature changes as indicators of time passing, and insufficient dopamine levels to trigger a conscious or intentional tracking of time. It is devastating. It is a devastating problem to have. Everything having to do with time has to be consciously remembered and consciously dealt with in a person who also can't remember things. That is a devastating combination of problems to have in an adult. It's fine if you're a kid and you can't keep track of time. Your parents tell you where to go and what to do. But as you get older and you're expected to maintain your own schedule and no one tells you how to do that because everyone else just does it, things start to fall apart and the failures rack up and up. It's devastating.
Failure.
I find it dangerous that everyone wants to get rich or to gain material wealth. We're more in need of spiritual wealth. That reinforces my idea to deal with more and more enriching subjects through manga.
Like a lot of people with ADHD, I've had problems in the past with keeping my financial life in order. I was really not ready for that when I went to college. I lost my bank account. And what I didn't know, and I do know now, is that you can lose your bank account so hard that they won't let you have a bank account again. And that's what happened when I was, I believe, 19 or 20. I was at the time, this was, for you young people, this was before online banking. This was back when you had to write everything down and remember it all yourself, or you could call a phone number and they would give you a sort of idea of how much money you might have in your checking account, but it was not current in any way, the way that online banking is now. Thank God for online banking. I was not good at writing things down. Even though I did use those carbon checks, I still had some problems. So in order to help myself, I had set up, or I thought I had set up, an overdraft protection with a savings account that did have money in it, but the bank whoopsie-doodle didn't set up the savings account right, and they did that thing that they aren't supposed to do anymore and probably still do, where they put checks in such a way that the account overdrafted. And then I didn't know. And then the account was overdrafting a lot. And I ended up bouncing checks all over town, which was hideous. And then when I went to the bank to fix it, they told me not only did I have to pay everyone money that I owed them, which obviously I was going to do that, but also that I owed them several hundreds and hundreds of dollars in overdraft fees, even though they were the ones who hadn't set up the account right and I had documentation proving that I had asked for it. They were just like, whoops. get fucked, I guess. I was so angry. I closed the account and marched across the street to another bank. And in the amount of time it took me to do that, they had put me on a list of people who are not allowed to have a bank account. And then I didn't have a bank account for many years. I forget how long, 3-4 years. The only way I got it back was that someone else had to open an account on it as a co-signer, and then I was allowed to have a checking account again.
I've defied space and time.
Okay, so this is the part where I need to explain King Crimson. And it's a big thing to try to do.
Alright, you wanna know? Fine, I admit it! I don't know how King Crimson works!
How does King Crimson work is a very long meme in the JoJo fan community, because King Crimson is confusing. Less confusing in the anime than he was in the manga, because he does time deletion, and that's easier to show in a video format. Video. It's easier to show with, what is the word for that? Jump cuts. I know what it is. It's easier to show with jump cuts than it is to show in a paneled comic form. So I think we kind of understand more how King Crimson works than as a community than we did before the Golden Wind part was adapted into an anime. But it's still a fun meme.
What does that mean? What does he mean he erases time?
I think so. It's kind of a big ask because a lot of people have taken a swing at this, but I've got notes here, all notes and stuff, because there's no way I could do this without having taken some notes. Okay, so here we go. King Crimson is the final big boss of the Golden Wind arc. King Crimson is the stand of the bad guy Diavolo, aka the devil. I love that. So King Crimson is Diavolo's stand. Diavolo is the boss of Passione, the big mafia organization. Golden Wind is the godfather, okay? Giorno is gonna take over the mafia to stop them from selling drugs to kids. It's just it's the Godfather, but it's Araki's version. And it's great. I love it. I love Giorno. I love that part. I think it's wonderful. Technically, King Crimson is the stand of two people, Diavolo and Doppio, but Diavolo and Doppio are the same person. They're like alter egos of the same person. I don't know if that matters to mention that, but it's true. So, because usually people can only have one stand, Diavolo and Doppio together kind of have two, because King Crimson has a kind of sub-ability called Epitaph. Epitaph is the bitty face in the middle of King Crimson's forehead. Epitaph gives Diavolo the ability to see 10 seconds into the future. And King Crimson has the ability to stop time and then delete anything within that time or adjust for it in such a way that only Diavolo can move and react in the stopped or deleted time. And then when time restarts, no one has any memory of the time stoppage or deletion. I'm saying time stop deletion, they're not really the same thing, because Dio in the Stardust Crusaders, the third arc, has a straight up time stop. Jotaro also has a time stop ability. Don't worry about that, but he does. So what's the difference between Dio's time stop and King Crimson's time deletion? Well, the difference is what happens to people who get time stopped versus what happens to people who get time deleted. A time stop just freezes everybody. Dio can move within the frozen time. Jotaro can move within his frozen time. Nobody else can. And then when you restart the time, people kind of continue the action that they were starting to make before the time stoppage. In King Crimson's time deletion, the action that you are trying to take has already happened. When the time restarts, the action that you began to take before the time deletion has already happened. Part of the menace of the time deletion is the psychological shock that occurs in the people that the time deletion is done to.
弾丸はおめえの方だ。全部くれ。ブーツの内側に入ってる。もたもたすんなよ。早く弾丸をくれ。
ミスター。
You start to drink a glass of water, and then when the time deletion is over, the water's gone and it's already been drunk. Or maybe it hasn't. Because that's the thing about King Crimson, is it is a little bit unclear. The thing that you were doing in the time deletion, does it happen? Listen, you've got to give me a break here. I have major ADHD, and I'm saying stop and deletion interchangeably, and like people are going to be like, ooh, it's Dio's the time stop. Whatever. I'm doing my best, okay? So, Epitaph can see 10 seconds into the future, and then King Crimson is the only person who decides if what happens in that time actually happens or not. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It's portrayed both ways. It's a perfect portrayal of time blindness in that way, because if I walk into a room and I have an Advil in my hand, and then the next thing I know is I'm in another room and the Advil's not in my hand anymore. What happened to it? Did I take it? Did I drop it? Did I put it down somewhere? I don't know. I intended to do it. I intended to take an Advil, but it's gone. And I don't know if I took it or not. Maybe I did, and maybe I didn't. And that nagging fear and worry and shock of intending to start something and then being essentially mind wiped because the time is gone and I have walked into a different place and I am doing something else when my attention comes back around and I focus back in on the now. I don't know if the thing happened or not. I have to either backtrack and try to figure out if I did it or decide that it doesn't matter and keep moving on. But there's no ability to tell because I didn't make a memory of it, so it's just gone. That's hard. Oh, I have a note here that deleted time is portrayed by Araki in a very cubist way. Cubism was an attempt to show movement over time in a flat, two-dimensional object, like a painting. That's why there are these, like, superimposed images, like in Nude Descending a Staircase, of the body moving throughout the process of descending the staircase, but it's all occurring in one section of time, which is the painting. So it's all this superimposed to portray movement and time in a single snapshot and a flat surface. King Crimson is defeated by Giorno leveling up his stand Gold Experience into Gold Experience Requiem by getting the arrow. Do not worry about that. So how does Gold Experience Requiem defeat time deletion? The power of time deletion that King Crimson has seems undefeatable. It seems impossible to overcome. So how does Giorno and Gold Experience overcome that? The leveling up of Gold Experience into Gold Experience Requiem causes Gold Experience to have the ability to defeat time blindness not by taking an action, but by deleting the intention.
しかし、実際に起こる真実に到達することは決してない。
If the intention is to harm Giorno, then that intention to start to do that is what is deleted. And so there is no ability to harm Giorno within a stopped time period, because there is no ability to form an intention against Giorno to harm him. It reminds me from my church background of the of exhorting, and one of the things that people like to say when they're cheesed off and exhorting about it is, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." That's Gold Experience Requiem. That's how King Crimson gets defeated. Okay, so when we're talking about Joe Bros, that is man of 1,000 hollerings, I love him because who doesn't love him? You're like required to love Speedwagon, okay? Like, who doesn't want their own Speedwagon? What does the EO stand for? I must know. He, like, inexplicably, for story reasons, gets mad for no reason and then dies. And so, like, I don't know about Caesar, but, like, man, he has great hair. And that, like, jump that he does into the chair in order to, like, irritate Joseph, just beautiful pettiness. I give him 10 out of 10 on being just the pettiest. We love. I guess I'm just reviewing all the Joe Bros. So, who's next? Okuyasu. Nope, that's a big, loud motorcycle. Where is it going? Godspeed, my friend. I guess we've kind of set up, even going back to Speedwagon, initially a Joe Bro will fight a JoJo. They must fight, and then the JoJo must defeat the Joe Bro. The Joe Bro will demonstrate capabilities that they will never use again, and then they're best pals. Okuyasu, I like that, like, Araki was like, what if we had a character who had a hugely powerful stand and, like, relatable? Because, like, whomst among us has not been like, oh yeah, I could do that thing that I know how to do, but I forgot it was an option. I love him. I think he's a sweetie pie. He is one of my favorites. I just say about Bucciarati died for our sins. Come back. I miss him. He's so great. I don't have, like, a coherent review of Bucciarati because I just have feelings. Okay, so moving along to Hermes. I think Hermes is great. Hermes and Jolene. I don't know about hiding money inside your boob implant, Araki. I'm not sure that that's how boob implants work. Man, I cried when Foo Fighters died. Y'all, that, like, got into my heart. Foo Fighters, like, was so sad. That whole season is about memory. What are we without our memory? It seems like this, like, intense, like, emotional response to, like, the idea of not being able to remember things. And I find that really intensely emotionally affecting. He teaches Johnny how to do the spin. He's like a mentor figure. I love it. I love the friendships. I think they're really great. So now I guess we have Josuke, Gabby Josuke. I felt like was very sweet and felt very genuine and like a kind of real expression of what it feels like to fall in love with someone. That, like, need to be around them. That, like, need this, like, overwhelming, like, greed and need to just be in their presence. I love Jodio. Jodio rules. The first thing Jodio does with his Stand November Rain is barbecue a couple of pigs. Like, fuck yeah. What is not to like?
I could stay depressed about my bad memory, but that's a negative way to live. Let's look on the bright side and list the advantages of having a bad memory. 1, you can reread a book and see a movie over and over and enjoy it as much as the first time. 2, if you make an inconvenient promise, you can pretend that you forgot about it and still be forgiven. 3, this is the most important thing. You can keep coming up with ideas without being held back by convictions or the past.
Okay, so quickly, here is what you need to know about the 6th arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. Jolene Kujo is Jotaro Kujo's daughter. Jotaro was not the best dad in the world.
年齢が14歳なので、今回は書類だけで。
これから東京？あなた、自分の娘がこんなことになってるのに。明日に伸ばしとる。それでも父親？待って、もしもし？もしもし？
Jolene is mad about it.
ジョリーン、聞いているのか？ペンダント。
これで私は当分懲罰棒行きだ。お前と知ってたらここには来なかった。
Which is fair. He's not the worst dad in the world. That's probably my dad. So, like, I do sympathize with Jolene and her anger at Jotaro. Jolene is arrested for reasons that turn out to be a frame-up that is in service of luring Jotaro to a prison in Florida so that the bad guy of that season can steal his memory for reasons that still have to do with Dio. They do! Jailhouse Rock is not the main bad guy of Stone Ocean, that's Poochie. What Jailhouse Rock and the user, Mew Mew, the point of the stand is to prevent Jolene from being able to escape from prison, even though she has a stand.
This may be sudden, but I don't believe in aliens. I've seen a UFO in the past, but I'm pretty sure it was an optical illusion. And in any case, I want to say, so what?
Okay, so when autistic people, ADHDers, and other neurodivergent people talk about masking, what do we mean? We're not talking about COVID-style masking over your face, physical masking, although COVID is real, and depending on your situation, really don't have to be out there raw-dogging the plague air. That's not the kind of masking we're talking about. We are talking about social masking, which is basically when you are with other people, pretend to be neurotypical. You are imitating and suppressing. So imitating and not doing what would be natural, suppressing your natural instincts. It is something that you have to think about, second guess, and sometimes it can become second nature to continually suppress yourself. It is painful to constantly be second guessing myself. But I'm a human being and I need other people. So there are circumstances in which it would not be to my benefit for me to be myself. And when people interact with me, they are oftentimes expecting to interact with a neurotypical person because it's what is typical. And so if I respond in a different way, it can throw everything off. Short version, it's pretending to be neurotypical when you're not. In some ways, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this is a video about ADHD, and just so y'all know, I also claim autism, so there's that. So I figured in a video about ADHD and neurodivergence that talking about masking, I figured I would talk about my accent and roll it up into a discussion of masking. But in some ways, I feel like I shouldn't have to do this. I do feel a little resentful, I gotta be honest. I record these audios at different times. I have to do it when I have time, which is not always. I'm including clips of myself from Twitch. I'm going to be slipping in and out of accents here. Part of that is masking, but part of it is classism and trying to defend not only against the assumptions that neurotypical people make, but also the classist assumptions that are made against people who speak in their natural American Southern accents. I don't like being poked at about my accent. I grew up in the American South, in Alabama. I have a Southern accent. I've had it more and less because of masking and because of classism. I remember from the time I was a little girl, my mother would constantly correct the speech of myself and my sister because she didn't want us to sound trashy. She didn't want us to sound like the wrong kind of Southerner. Because, like, we know what y'all think about us. And mostly it's that you think that we are stupid. I mean, you could be the wrong kind of Southerner in the South. She didn't want that to affect our ability to get work, and it would have. She didn't do that for no reason. And when I moved up north, one of the first jobs that I had, I tried to get rid of it even faster, the accent, because one of the first jobs that I had, you just get tired of people literally standing behind you and then saying everything that you say again in an exaggerated mocking accent. Like, it's just tiresome, and it becomes at a certain point, how can I get these people to go away? What's it gonna take? You stop yourself from speaking in certain ways, using certain phrases, and I think that as I was around people who were not Southern, then I gradually over time kind of took on some of their accent as well as losing some of mine deliberately, because I just don't like being poked at all the time. At a certain point, I was just like, what do I have to be embarrassed about for saying y'all? I grew up saying y'all. Everybody in the South says y'all. That's very normal. It is just a dialect. It's just an American dialect. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean anything about me or about how smart I am or am not, or what I am or am not capable of. That's just nasty. And people don't gotta be like that, but they are. And you have to deal with it, Starting with the pandemic in 2020, I began to work from home, and I had less contact with people who were not my husband, and was doing the majority of the communication over email. And a lot of the masks started to slip. I could just do what felt right to me instead of having to worry about what I look like to other people. Like, if I just do a good job, then it shouldn't matter what I look like to people, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I just try to do a good job, and then if it's a good job, then it shouldn't matter. If I did it in a way that looks weird or is backwards to you, does it matter? Like, if it matters, I'll do it your way. But if it doesn't matter, then what's the point? As the mask started to come off, the accent starts coming back. It always slipped back. It does become unconscious. But there's a level below that unconscious control where you're cheesed off, or maybe you're a little tipsy, or maybe you're really tired. And then suddenly it's back to the core country talk. It's part of who I am. And it always has been. It's come back more and more. I don't want to have to change that again. I don't think that I should have to. I don't think there's anything wrong with it just because it's different. I wish people hadn't made me feel like it was. And I wish I hadn't been embarrassed and given in the first place to change it, because I don't think I should have to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a Southern accent. It's just an accent. It's just a way to speak American English. That's all it is. It's as I've been home with my husband and with very limited contact with anyone else, it felt like I had taken off these too tight shoes that I had been wearing for so long. I forgot what it felt like to be able to breathe. And I can't put them shoes back on, y'all. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And if that makes my voice sound funny to people, I mean, I guess. Your loss, I guess. I mean, what can I do about it? Oh, I also just wanted to say as a note, I had a therapist tell me once that I have a bad habit of using what she called distancing language, which is when I'm talking about me and then I start saying you, and I really just mean me. Kind of called me out for doing that when I'm uncomfortable. There's probably going to be times in this audio when I'm going to say you, I really just mean me. I don't mean you. Sometimes when I get uncomfortable, it is a verbal habit that I have. So I hope that y'all will excuse me and understand that I just mean me, but some of this stuff is a little uncomfy. Hopefully you'll pardon my distancing language and understand that, sweetie, I don't mean you. I mean me. Just large content note here for needles. So if that's going to be a big problem for you, probably skip to the next chapter. I will get a time code also, and I will put it here. And you should skip forward away from this part because it involves needles, and I know that bothers a lot of people, and I don't want you to be bothered. Okay, so I have been cross-stitching since I was very little. I think my grandma taught me how when I was about, 4 or 5, maybe a little younger. Little stuff at first, and then kind of moving up later to counted cross stitches. And it's always been something that I've enjoyed doing. I find it really soothing. It gives me something to do with my hands, and something that is helpful with the intense physical restlessness that I've always had, because I'm the combined ADHD, the inattentive and the hyperactive, and I have lifelong zoomies. I've had the zoomies my whole life, and I've always found it really soothing and relaxing to do cross stitch. But the thing about cross stitch is that it involves a needle. And the thing about needles is that they're sharp and they're really small. And the thing about having ADHD is I don't always know what my hands are doing. Time blindness means that sometimes I am mind wiped. I'm just taking a mental vacation to blank land, and my body is out doing walkies while I'm not registering what is going on. It can be really hard to make sure that I am doing things even for safety, like with needles, to make sure that I don't actually hurt myself. The reason why losing a cross stitch needle is almost a guaranteed panic attack is because, well, first of all, you need to know where the freaking needle is. It's a needle. But it's also because I think I was 11 or 12, and I was doing my cross stitching, sitting in my father's recliner. I remember it was like a tan corduroy recliner, and it had stuffed arms underneath the cushion of the armrest. There's like a piece of wood. So I was using the armrest of the recliner as a pincushion, and I left a needle sharp point down in the arm cushion of my father's recliner, and then forgot. It got deleted out of my brain that I had done that, and I put everything away except the needle. And then later, I liked to sit in my father's recliner when I was a kid. It was big, gave me a lot of room to flop around in. So if he wasn't around, I would sit in his recliner. So later on that same day, I go back into the living room to flop down into the recliner. I don't remember exactly how this part happened. I probably tripped. I'm pretty clumsy. But I ended up falling in such a way that the dull part of the sewing needle went into the meat of my palm, dull side first. And my mother had to get the pliers to pull it out because it was really in there, pretty deep. And everyone was yelling at me, which, I mean, granted, I shouldn't have done that with using the arm of the recliner as a pincushion, but also I was like 11 or 12. Now, when I misplace a needle, because I still cross stitch, and still find it really soothing, but now when I can't find a needle, I get really upset. And Josh, my husband, he comes and helps me find it, because the more upset I get, the less I am able to find the thing that I have lost. I also use a needle minder now. It's a little magnet that you can clip to the top of the cross stitch, and that's been really good. That's helpful because I can just flip the needle onto the needle minder and then I know it'll stay, because in between tying off a thread and clipping it and then changing the thread to another color, I could blank out and lose the needle, and I do. I still do. I try really hard not to. It seems like the only way to make sure that that never ever happens again would be to give up something that I really love and enjoy and that really helps me, like, mentally. So that's why I get upset with the needle.
remember your dreams?
Now is the time where we're going to explain and talk about Jailhouse Rock, or Jailhouse Lock. Due to copyright and localization, it's both. Jailhouse Rock is a stand that is an attack on short-term memory. If King Crimson is time blindness personified, then Jailhouse Rock is the memory problems of ADHD personified. Only 3 items of new information can be remembered. Anything beyond the 3 items causes one thing to be forgotten. New information is never encoded into long-term memory.
2日も私は2日も同じことを質問していた。でもなんで本体を倒せ。奴の名はミュウミュウ。これはまさかそんなスタンド攻撃。私を脱獄させないための。私は今襲われている。
It is an attack that destroys the victim's ability to perform any complex task or to even remember that a complex task needs to be performed.
ところでグエス、ミュウミュウって名前のやつ知ってる？今この前を歩いてった。もう一回言ってグエス、どんなやつ？ここは女子館？なんで私女子館に戻ってるんだ？ミュウミュウって誰？
There's a panel that when I read it was so true. Have you ever seen something that's so true that it is like being punched directly in the chest? It was so stunningly, upsettingly true that I cried a little the first time that I read it. Anyone that it attacks can only remember 3 things. A life of 3s. It's worse than losing all of your memories. It's useless. No matter what you do, you will experience this futility over and over until it becomes ingrained within you. And I was like, well, I guess thanks, Araki. Now you've just like convicted me in my heart and made me feel like upsettingly seen. When I saw the opening, the trailer opening of Golden Wind, and the part where it was like, sing a song of sorrow in a world without time. And I went to myself, oh God, this stand is time blindness. And it was like, wow, that's amazing. But Jailhouse Rock, that one made me cry. Because like, it's not fun to live like this. It's so hard. It makes everything so hard.
どこだっけ？ここ。それに私が今追っていたやつは誰だっけ？
いたぞ！こちら D12 通路の角。おい、手を挙げろ！
違う！今追われているのは私だ！
Am I running towards something, or am I being chased? To snap back into the now and not know what's happening, anything, it just fell out of my head. I looked at it and I looked away and it was gone. Whatever it was, it's gone. And once you've forgotten something, you can't get it back.
必要なことは何だ？大切なことは？忘れてはならないことは？
And I forget 1,000 things a day and I don't know if they're important or not. I never know, because once it's gone, it's gone.
今思い出すんだ。今じゃないと永遠に忘れ去ってしまう。一つだけで大切なことは。
And the feeling of forgetting something important is the exact same feeling of having forgotten something trivial. You do not know. It's just gone.
あれ？なんだっけな。 私、何しに棒に戻ってきたんだっけ?
And hopefully it'll come back, but it may not. And then what? So how does Jolene cope with being inflicted with this severe attack on her short-term memory and ability to make long-term memories and long-term goals of anything that is longer than 5 seconds from now? Well, she copes in a way that I cope a lot of times. She writes all up and down her arms with a pen.
すぐペンを持て。2、新しく覚えられる物事は3つまでと思え。3、本体を倒せ。奴の名はミュウミュウ。何よこれ、誰が書いた？私が眠っている間。これ、私の文字だ。私が書いた？嘘よ、いつ？こんなこと書いた覚えはない。その前にさ、あんたペン持ってない？ペンよ、貸して。ねえ、あんた。本当マジに聞くんだけどさ、この文字、私が自分で書いたと思う。自分で自分の体に。
I've done that because I've done it ever since I could write, because there is this desperate bid to get it written down. Is it important? My God, you have to get it written down. And the amount of time that you have to get it written down is so short. We're talking seconds here, not minutes. Seconds. If you have a pen and no paper, it is better to write it down on your arm sometimes than to let it slide away into that void nothingness where all the thoughts go. You can't get into the void. You can't get that stuff back. It's just gone. But that doesn't work because you run out of places to write. On your skin, it could rub off, could get ink everywhere, and then have another task to deal with. The solution to the Jailhouse Rock attack is to offload the task of remembering to something else. Jailhouse Rock's user is named Mew Mew. Mew Mew shoots multiple bullets at Jolene because she'll only be able to see 3 of them. Anything that you can't remember is deleted by your brain and it does not exist anymore. But the danger of it still exists. Whether you remember that it's there or not, it is still dangerous. There are still 5, 6 bullets coming at you, but you can only see 3 of them.
水に映り込んだ像ならたった一つの真実同時に撃ったというならそれを見れば何発だろうとな。
Jolene uses the water on the floor as a mirror, and so then she offloads the task of remembering where all the bullets are to one task of looking at the mirror. And Emporio, who's also struck by Jailhouse Rock, offloads the task of remembering who the stand user is to a printout, because things that are on paper, things that are written down, can be located and remembered later. And then Jolene punches the personification of ADHD in the face, and it's very cathartic. Am I running towards something, or am I being chased? Where am I going? What just happened? Can I figure it out? Am I running towards something, or am I being chased? As part of the treatment for my ADHD, I take Adderall. It helps. I mean, it does not help as much as I was hoping it would when I first got a prescription. I was hoping it would help me with the mind wipage, with getting fully mind wiped and losing time and forgetting literally everything all the time, and it does not do that. It gives me a little more time to write it down. It gives me a little more focus in my focus, but it doesn't help me to focus on the right things. It could spiral down a rabbit hole with your newfound ability to focus. I mean me. I did that during periods of time when I needed to not do that because I didn't know how to unstop the focusing. It gives me some emotional leeway to put a little extra space between having a feeling and doing a thing. That's critical, but it does not help me remember things, unfortunately. It helps me feel less panicked about not being able to remember things. It helps give me a little extra time to write the things down, but it doesn't make me make a memory when I didn't, which sucks. I wish it did, but it doesn't do that. Like many people with ADHD, I am now being affected by the Adderall shortage. It sucks. I don't understand when this is going to get better. No one seems to know, and there does not seem to be any efforts to do anything about it. And the American government, at least, seems to think that too many people are getting diagnosed with ADHD. That is a horrible thing to say. That is a horrible, ableist thing to say about this collection of symptoms and issues. There is no way to solve a problem if you don't know what you're trying to solve. If you don't know what the problem is, then the only problem can be that you are the problem because you don't try hard enough. Because God knows that's what people say, just a lifetime of failure and everyone blaming you. When in reality, your brain doesn't do the things that other people's brains do. And like, how would I know that? I'm not inside other people's brains. Somebody had to suggest it to me. A lot of things that are diagnosed in the DSM are things that happen to people on occasion. It's when it ruins your life that it becomes a disorder and a problem. When it's constant, when nothing you do makes it better. The Adderall shortage has been going on for significantly longer than it has been in the news, and I'm just really mad about it. I'm mad about the way that we're being treated, and I am mad about the way that people talk about us. This is medicine that people rely on for their lives, for their jobs, for their studying, for their school. We can't get medicine. No one seems to care. There's no answers, and the only thing that we're hearing is that too many people are trying to get medicine. That sucks, and it makes me angry.
See, I don't believe in cringe. Exactly for that reason. I'm like, be sincere with me, motherfuckers. There is such a lack of, like, sincerity in people. Like, I just want to see that. I don't care if it's weird or cringy. What am I, 17? No, I don't care about looking cool. I'm middle-aged. I don't need to care about that anymore.
When I decided I was going to make this video, I wanted to make some collage pieces because I love collage and have them kind of represent these personal stories that I was going to tell. I did make the collages, and then I ended up making just a bunch of different fan art pieces because there were points where I was like, oh, I need to do this thing next, or I should edit the audio, or blah blah, etc. And my brain was just wouldn't. It just would lock up and I couldn't do it. So frustrating. In order to help myself with the like grinding frustration of not being able to do what I know is the next step on a creative project, I decided to just make JoJo fan art. Like anytime I couldn't get myself to move, and it was more times than I would like, but I wanted to work on the project, but I couldn't get myself to do it. So I would just make all this JoJo fan art that one presumes I'm showing you right now. I don't even at this point in recording the audio, I don't even know how much of this I'm gonna even have by the time I get done. There's already a lot of it. So every piece here, just started doing them, and then I was like, oh, I'll do a little intro bit, and I did that. And then I was like, what if I did them in like different styles? That would be cool. So it gave me like a kind of parallel project, creative outlet to work on while I was working on this, when my brain was like, no. So thanks for that, brain. I think it turned out pretty good. Like, it looked good to me, and that's what matters, honestly. So, and then I did the little collages. I was like, oh yeah, and this one will be for this one, and then this one will be for the needle story, and then this one will be for the bank thing, and then this one will be for the homework in 3rd grade. Great. And then I looked, and I was like, there is a 4th collage here. What is this for? What is it for? I know, I remember making it, mostly. And I was like, oh yeah, and then this will be great for that idea that you had of the thing. I don't know what the thing is anymore. I forgot. I went back to look through and flip through things, and I'm like, yeah, still like that, still like that. What's this one for? And I had this little notebook that I was scrabbling down stuff in. Didn't write it down. No idea. Let's just take a look at it together, since, I don't know what it's for. It seems like I might have done this for a bit. I did not. It would have been a great bit if I had thought it out beforehand, but I guess I'm not that funny, because this is just really what happened. Oopsie daisy. What are you gonna do? When I was in 2nd grade, I came home from school one day and my mother said to me, "Why aren't you turning in your homework?" And I said back to her, "I don't have homework." And she said, "Yes, you do, because your teacher has called." So it turned out I did have homework. The teacher had been writing it on the board and I had just missed that completely. And my mother, once she figured out that I had been told that I had homework, I had been instructed to read it off the board and then do it, and then just didn't and forgot about it completely, she took me aside and she said, "You're like me. You can't remember things. You have to write everything down or you're going to be in trouble, and worse trouble as you get older." She bought stacks of steno notepads, and when I would lose one, she'd give me another one, and she would just say, "Write it down. Write it down. You have to write it down because you won't remember." And that was true. It's still true. Anything not saved will be lost. Anything not written down is going to be lost. And we practiced because she wrote everything down because she couldn't remember anything. She said to me, "You can't tell anyone about this. You can't tell people that you can't remember things. No one can know that because if they do, they will try to take advantage of you." And I wish that she had been wrong about that, but she wasn't.
I often nearly drown myself. Not in the sea or in a river, no. I narrowly escaped death drinking a glass of water. I only need a mouthful of water to suffocate, and I find myself unable to breathe. Generally, if I stay calm, I manage to get my breath back little by little. But recently, I almost passed out. That was a close one. That day, I miraculously escaped death to everyone's indifference.
Y'all, I swore to myself I was not going to record a whole mess more of audio. I swore I wasn't going to record more audio at all. I am 80% done with this project, and yeah, here I fucking am, because I found something while I was screen capping, and now I guess we have to talk about it. This is really not the tone that I wanted to have for this video, but these clips bothered me so much that I just couldn't let it go. So I was screen capping the lecture from Dr. Russell Barkley at an ADHD conference. It's called the 30 Essential Ideas Every Parent Needs to Know to Understand and Raise a Child with ADHD. So this is a conference for parents, which should not be surprising. The vast majority of all ADHD resources are for parents. They're not for ADHD adults, and I don't even know how much of them are for the children. It's all for parents because the parents are the ones who have the money. So I'm watching the video, and then I get to this part.
The ability to look ahead is called intention. So ADHD is actually IDD. It's intention deficit disorder, because it doesn't matter what your intentions are, you're not going to do them. So,
this entire project is a request for some empathy, for some understanding, for a group of people who've had very little of either of those things. And seeing these parents laugh at the idea that people don't do what they intend to do and ha 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 and that's funny. I think that this YouTube commenter put it very succinctly, so I am going to read this comment from Antonio Marie. "I just bawled my eyes out, especially at the point where Russell says it doesn't matter what your intentions are, you're not going to do them. And then hearing the audience members laugh. The shame I feel when I reflect on the years and years of trying to be better and the struggle to maintain the appearance of normality in the world, despite my best intentions, is heartbreaking enough. To hear a group of people laugh at that is crushing." And, I cannot disagree with that. It is crushing, it is disappointing, and it is enraging. It is additionally upsetting when these are parents. And you can say maybe that they're laughing with. That's not my interpretation. My interpretation of the laughter here is that this is the laughter of, oh, I can't get little Jimmy to do his homework. It's so annoying and frustrating. And it's like you're so focused on your annoyance and your frustration and your feelings about what your kid with ADHD won't do. You know, not can't do, but won't do, right? Because that's how it's always framed, is that you won't do things. Not that you can't do things, or that you could do them with some assistance. The assistance does not arrive, but the anger always does. And the contempt. Am I saying that these parents have contempt for their children? Not necessarily. It felt contemptuous to me, especially considering that earlier in the talk, Dr. Barkley literally talks about how these issues start in childhood and continue into adulthood, where they are exacerbated and become life-destroying.
So ADHD is destroying the timing and timeliness of human behavior. That is a very important thing for parents to understand. Because while a 3-year-old does not have to have a sense of time, a 30-year-old does.
But nobody cares about the destroyed lives of ADHD adults, because we're responsible for ourselves. We get no help, but we're responsible. No help, no assistance, no compassion, no empathy. This is what it sounds like when people don't have empathy. I could make a video as long as this or longer about how ADHD impacted my experience of severe child abuse. But I'd need to find a different part of JoJo to use to talk about that, just so I could stand it. The short version is, the short, non-explicit version is that the church that I grew up in, the way that they discipline children is already abuse. But you add on top of that the expectation that children will snap to immediately and do whatever they're told without any questions the first time, or they are deserving of intense physical punishment. Add that philosophy of abuse to a child who does not understand that they're being spoken to until the instructions or commands are already 3/4 of the way done. And yeah, ADHD is pretty genetic, but there is a significant problem from the people that I know and talk to with parents with undiagnosed ADHD getting in the way of their children being diagnosed, saying, nothing's wrong with you, you're just like me, and I'm fine. Well, are you? Are you fine? Nothing's wrong with you. You're just a whiner. You're just lazy. Yes, it does bother me. The resources for ADHD are never for us. They're never for the people who have ADHD. They're for the people who are inflicted with having to deal with us, including our families. And I just think that we deserve better. So all of this, is this what King Crimson and Jailhouse Rock actually mean? Do the lore documents need an update? Is this lore? No, it's not lore. This is not a lore dump. This is art criticism. This is me finding meaning in a work of art and then coming to you and being like, ooh, look at what I found. Do you see it? Maybe you do. And maybe you don't think so. And that is okay. There's a difference between like a review, when this is not a review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm not trying to recommend it for you to read or watch, although I think if you go to the Super Eye Patch Wolf videos that I recommended before, then you'll see whether or not it's something that would be for you. So it's not a review, it's not really a recommendation, it's not a lore explanation, it's not taking things from the manga and anime and explaining to you how the Heaven Plan works, although thank you so much to the people who did that. I watched a bunch of those because I was like, what does it mean? It's not really an answer to what does it mean so much as it is an answer to what does it mean to me. The goal of art criticism, the goal of a critic, is to take a work of art and show you something that you might not have thought of yourself. That's what I'm trying to do here. Is the lore wrong? I don't think so, but it might be. Do other people have other interpretations? Sure, definitely. But an interpretation doesn't have to be correct or ascendant or like the one that everyone agrees with to be worth making. So is this what King Crimson means? Well, it's what King Crimson means to me, and I think that's valuable.
Welcome to the Applebees. May I take your order? My name is Noriaki Kakawin. Yes, today we have 2 specials. One is a big bowl of shrimp butter pasta, and the other one is my balls.
People who resemble me. I don't just mean their faces or physical appearances. When I read biographies of people, I sometimes think, whoa, this guy's just like me, dude. I get really emotional when that happens, and it really fills me with courage.
I wanted to say thank you to the leftist YouTuber group F the Algorithm for the really kind and wonderful feedback that I got on one of my videos, and also for welcoming me into their group. I do not think I would have made this otherwise. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue to make videos, but I guess I do. Because I did this. So I'm undercutting my own point, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been extremely kind, and I appreciate it very much. I also wanted to especially single out the video. This is not a video essay by the Leftist Cooks for particular inspiration for this video. You inspired me to try to make something artistic. I hope I did it. There'll be links in the thingy. You should look for the links. I need to give a huge thank you to Hoots on YouTube for bringing my work to F the Algorithm, welcoming me into your community. I just appreciate it so much. Thank you. Thank you for thinking it was good. Thank you a lot. My most biggest thank you has to go to my husband Josh. Nothing is possible without Josh. He is my everything. The support that he gives me day to day is invaluable to my being able to do anything creative. He's also my best friend. Thank you for giving me the space to do this, sweetie. I love you so much. Hey, y'all, listen. If you found this video appealing at all, or if you liked it, or you think that I'm charming, hopefully, and you happen to watch and like video game streams, I have a stream on Twitch. I've been showing footage from it from when I did the JoJo Eyes of Heaven streams. Check it out if you want to. You can watch it for free. I think it's good. I stream the Yakuza games. I've been streaming the Yakuza games and only the Yakuza games for about 2.5 years. And we are not done. We're not going to be done until next year. RGG Studios is gonna lap me, for sure. So when we do get through all the games, and it will happen eventually, we are gonna go to Yakuza 0 and we are gonna start over. Only Yakuza games all the time. That is what I stream on Twitch. Check it out if that seems fun to you. Come be a friendo if you want. We'd love to have you.